Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I figured I'd turn on the camera, say hello to everybody first and foremost. Hope you're having a fantastic day, evening, night, or whatever it is that you're doing. I'm just in bed. I would say I'm just waking up. It looks as if I'm just waking up, but to be really honest with y'all, I've been up for over an hour and a half. I'm just rubbing my face as if I just woke up. I'm actually wide awake. But what I've been paying attention to is, of course, the same old stuff, man. In the NBA, it's just the scandals and things like that. It's the cover-up of the one scandal that covered up the other scandal that covered up the other scandal. I don't know. Is there another one coming? Who knows? But so we're all clear. Brett Favre took a whole lot of money from a lot of poor people. I truly believe that situation is not being talked about enough. I haven't talked about it enough. I do agree it's not an intriguing situation. The story's not entirely fun to talk about either, but it is something that is horrible. It is something that is not getting spoken of enough. So we're going to start this conversation by saying I really want to feel decent about talking about other things, so it's very important that gets said first. All right, so now that that's been said, let's get back to the stuff that's actually more intriguing to speak about. Unfortunately, it's not good news, though. It's Udoka situation in Boston. More intriguing because of how they relayed the information to us. More intriguing because we still are finding out information as it goes along. More intriguing because we are finding out that it's very interesting parallels going on with conversations surrounding this situation and other situations, which is what prompted me to turn on the camera, because I made a video called Shooting Bail to Malika Andrews, and when I was listening to myself, I was trying my best to explain what I was saying, but I don't know. I don't think I was able to convey my thoughts in a clear, concise way. But what I did see was what I was trying to explain in another example elsewhere. So I was watching, and this is a separate conversation, separate TV show, separate thing, but I was watching the Joe Budden podcast on the Joe Budden Network, and he was sitting down with one of his regular co-hosts, Ice. He sits down with Ish and Ice was the guy he was getting into it with. It's basically what he was referring to was a specific conversation where they were talking about a specific point, which isn't relevant. But Joe was like, look, Ice, in regards to the conversation we're having, you have information that you may have gotten outside of the show, somewhere in the streets. Because that's not information that the podcast has officially, it's just hearsay that you have that could be true, could not be true. Maybe I trust the sources, but that ain't the point, because it's not reported anywhere else. So it's just you around the way getting news. Because you're getting your information that way on our show, we can't officially take that position, nor do we want you to bring up information that we don't have and then speak on it as if I, the host, have the information that you're referring to. Now, I may actually have it in my personal life, but as it pertains to the show and what we refer to on the show and the legal papers on the show and all this other stuff, I can't go by the hearsay that we believe, because this is a show where we have to be able to cross our T's, dot our I's, and have paperwork behind everything that we say. It has to be accurate, etc., etc. And so it's in the conversation that they were having, Joe Budden was talking about something that was relevant to what it is that they were dealing with, but with the information that Ice had would change the relevancy of Joe's point. But Joe was essentially saying, nah, you can't change the relevancy of my point, because that information ain't information that we have. I think, and what I was trying to explain in the video about the situation involving Malika Andrews and Perk, I think Malika Andrews was trying to explain or trying to convey that scenario to Perk in regards to the private information that he had about why he felt the ladies who were involved in this situation, or the lady involved in this situation, should be revealed by name by the Boston Celtics. Perk was saying, because I have this information, I know it's relevant to let her out. It's not something that because of what it is that I'm aware of, the information that nobody else knows, because I know what I know, let me let y'all know that it should be just fine that her name be released to the public for balance purposes. And what Malika was saying is, that's fine, but we don't have that information. You may have that information because of how you have your, as a player who has people in the Celtics organization that you still talk to, maybe you have that information. And because of it, you can work on that assumption. But until we, ESPN, behind our paywall, get that assumption, until we have that information, we cannot report that information as fact. And we will work with the information we have, even though you have conflicting information that would otherwise debunk what it is that we're working with. Because we have what we have, we're staying on what we stand on because that's all we can actually work with. So I think both of those parties were actually conveying the same thing to their or in Joe's case, to his guy that he's working with, who works for him, and in Malika's case, to her co-worker on camera. So that's one of the things that I wanted to point out. I was like, yo, I see these two parallels, man. It's like there's a business aspect of it and a legal aspect of it, that this is when authenticity and the business and the politics of whatever it is you're in meet a place where they can't meet together. Because hearsay, word on the street, and the information that you hang your, and I love to say hang your hat, but the information that you're referring to on your platform must align. Because once you start working with hearsay on the platform, then you become liable for what it is that you say. And if it happens not to be true, or if it happens to be murky, or if it happens to be a problem, then from there you have worked with understandings that have not been confirmed. So that's really what it is. That's what I think Malika was telling Perk. Perk is like, yo, I got information. They should let all these names out, because then that would make it so that everybody knows who it is, and we're not pointing out random people in the Celtics organization that should not be revealed. So both of them were right based on the positions that they understood. Perk just didn't understand he didn't appear to understand the importance of relying upon information that is connected directly to ESPN and what it is that they can confirm. Versus, maybe Perk having Jaylen Brown number or something like that. You feel what I'm saying? So that's what it was in regards to the Joe Budden conversation too. He was kind of showing me a parallel where he was trying to explain that to his guy. Like, look, I can't work with your hearsay, bro. Yeah, I know what you know. Hell, I know the people you know, but on our show, until we get that confirmed, this is all we can work with. And that is a business thing. That's a legal thing. And all of this is legal stuff. That's what we're learning. It's about getting certain things in our head early so that we understand what we're looking at. No different than in the game and the sport of basketball, also in the game and the sport of the business of telling stories around basketball, the business of revealing news that has nothing to do with basketball. I think that's what it is. People are learning how to handle the new climate that we're in regards to situations such as these. And as I've mentioned before, I think a lot of corporations have probably tried certain things that may have worked in the 90s and 2000s that maybe didn't work in the 2010s, 2020s as it pertains to liability, lawsuits, and things like that. Lawyers are getting more and more crafty. The circumstances are getting more and more murky. People are lying better and ultimately finding ways to bleed through all these different NDAs and various things that organizations and businesses and private people have done to protect themselves against getting sued. They still losing money, so they got to find new stuff. So I think this is like the newest, latest 2.0 version of how do we handle this scandal. Slow dripping news, tell them a little bit, but let them know how bad it is as it goes along. And if they're let them build their opinion around the possibilities of hearsay. That way, when it's a bunch of lies surrounding the situation, we didn't tell them any lies. We just gave them a little bit to let them run with it. That's one way to do it. That way, when everybody runs with the inevitable lie or the inevitable cap story that everybody, adds to, the people who initially sold the story said, we didn't tell you anything at all. We didn't tell you anything. All we said there was something going on, and then we're going to be dealing with it and run with it. So I guess this is a new way of keeping oneself from being liable for lies and various things that go on in these stories when they get released without actually everything being clear to everybody actually behind the scenes. Because that's what I think is actually going on behind the scenes, in my opinion. I don't think everybody's actually clear on what's going on. Here's what the Celtics screwed up on, in my humble opinion. Because whoever is involved in this is an executive's person, they got personal with it, in my humble opinion. If they would have handled this by the book without any emotions or any favoritism as it pertains to who did what and how they want to handle it, this would have been much smoother. But because they wanted to protect the identity of the person who got their heart broke and their family, and punish Ime Udoka for what he's done here, they screwed the situation up. After 3 or 4 days of what it is that we've been looking at, that's what I've come to the conclusion of. When you screw with somebody's wife, they want to get you personal, bro. And the problem with getting somebody personal is it has a DNA attached to it. So, for example, the Malika Andrews, Big Perk, Stephen A conversation, that's a Celtics creation. Why? Because they should have never told us that was somebody that worked in their organization. That was their fault. They created that angst. Because now Malika's like, all right, well, cool. You told us it's somebody in the organization. The investigation tells us that we don't have to look into who that may be, because all that we need to know, according to the investigation, is that Ime Udoka did some things. She's hanging her hat on that. In her mind, that makes a lot of sense. From a feminist perspective, it makes a lot of sense protecting women. But from a balanced perspective, and that's not the priority, it looks wrong. It just simply looks wrong, right? Because you're hanging, and this is what I was trying to explain in that video, and I don't think I did a good job of it. Because what you're doing is you're hanging your hat on the Celtics investigative professional service that they hired to help handle the situation that involves their subordinate. So at the end of the day, whatever findings that are found in that report, the Celtics then have a right to share with you what benefits them in that report. It's their right. They hired the investigative service. They got the information to get, they hired the investigator to get the information they needed, and then they gave you the information they wanted you to have. Well, that doesn't necessarily tell us everything we need to know, because if there's anything the Celtics have done wrong, they're definitely in a position to cover that up, or definitely benefits them to possibly withhold certain findings that may otherwise reveal certain things about them. They've already been caught lying. Why? Because they're skirting around the idea that this is someone that is in their organization that has done something wrong, and they don't want to punish her. Right? That's where they're screwing up. It's not necessarily that they've lied about anything, it's just that they're not being consistent. If Ime Udoka is an employee and you want to suspend him for being, breaking rules, and the other person you, Celtics, have declared is an employee, then you're not being balanced in regards to how you're handling the employees. And that creates a natural reaction from the public to ask, why not? And you're not going to answer that question because of the privacy aspect of the situation. That's where you went wrong. You went personal when you asked for privacy. When you decide you want to protect that person's identity, that's when you left the letter of the law, so to speak, or left the book. It started writing your own letters, started writing your own script. And that is when you go wrong. I was always taught as a young person that if you go by the letter of the book the entire way through, you always cover your backside. Once you start getting out of that, which is what Joe Budden was talking about, which is what Malika was referring to, once you start going outside of that, then you start putting yourself in positions to be wrong, and thus can get sued, thus can have all money taken from, all kinds of stuff can go wrong when you don't follow the book. The Celtics followed the book to a point until it started looking as if they started finding themselves vulnerable to reveal certain things that didn't benefit what it is that they were trying to keep private, and they ended up running into a wall because the consistency of their circumstances fell apart. Now everybody's looking at y'all saying your consistency fell apart, Celtics, because you're trying to hide stuff that you had no business hiding. So that's what we're looking at. That's exactly what we're looking at. And all of this, I think, was done purposefully, ingeniously, to create such an attention around the story. It does two different things. Not only does it protect certain things, but it also creates this energy for which makes us want to come back and continue to talk about it, instead of Brett Favre and Sarver and all these other people. So that's really what I see there. I just think that the Boston Celtics went personal, and now they're gonna have to face the consequences of doing that, to be honest with you, because there's no longer the Malika Andrews situation. Her point of view, to me, was that of a person who's young. Because I remember taking certain stances that I felt were right based on things that mattered to me, but what I also didn't understand was certain other things that made it so that affects things that also matters to me when I do it this way. It's like, okay, I'm gonna stand on my soapbox and I'm gonna scream to the top of my lungs about everything that matters to me. Well, when I do that, I'm creating a loud noise that's probably going to offend certain people, and now there's a consequence to that. Yes, did I get what's in out? Yes. Did I stand on something that made sense? Yes. But now people are looking at me saying, I don't want to hear nothing else out of your mouth because I'm standing on the soapbox. That's what Malika got to try to, you know what I mean? You got to pick and choose your battles. And you got to make sure you see all the angles in regards to what it is that you're referring to. Do women need to be protected? Absolutely. Is there an entity of males that don't respect that? Yes. Have they been in power for a long time? Absolutely. Does that mean that in this conversation you take that stance against that position? Probably not, based on everything surrounding the situation, based on the uncertainty of the details of the circumstances. And so maybe Perk and Malika know something behind the scenes that will let them know what they need to know to take the positions they take. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, nobody really knows enough at this point, in my opinion, because it appears to me that the Celtics themselves are hiding things. And that's what ESPN needs to understand, and the big networks and all the fans. I'm telling you that as much as I appreciated the way that the Celtics handled their press conference, because I thought they did a good job. I didn't take some of the stuff that others took from it. The energy that others took from it, I didn't take from it. But what I did take from it was they were personal in a way that they shouldn't have been. Wes Gryback and the owner of the Boston Celtics should have drawn a line and said, look, this situation it's bad. Ime Udoka has turned on all of us and ruined our season. We want to punish him. But if you're going to hurt yourself in the process, then you've obviously got to find another way. You obviously got to find another way, and that's why this story should not have come out. I know a lot of people are saying this has to come out, because if it doesn't come out, when it does come out, it creates a shitstorm, so to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what they're sitting in. They did not avoid the storm. So if the purpose is to not face a storm or to avoid that, maybe their approach was the wrong one. I do believe at the end of the day, when two people make a decision to get involved with one another, knowing that all of this is possible, they made the decision to forego their privacy in regards to the situation. The Celtics should not be covering their backsides. And I feel so sorry for the man involved in the situation, the husband who's an innocent bystander in this, maybe, from our point of view, whatever. He probably doesn't deserve to have his family outed. He probably has children in this situation he's trying to protect. That is probably taking precedent over all of what it is that I'm talking about. But guess what? His kids still going to have to deal with the blowback. We're going to find out exactly who they are, because it's Nia Long involved in this, and Black Twitter going to get to the bottom of it if nobody else does, which is what the Celtics should have been ahead of in the first place. That's what the Celtics should have been ahead of in the first place. You, Celtics, should know that because of who Nia Long is, this story wasn't going to go away. You weren't going to be able to hide the details, and you weren't going to be able to keep us from knowing who is all involved. They going to find out who's involved. Forget the NBA circles. Forget the regular fans that you know about circles and all the people over here. Black Twitter is going to find out what happened to that black woman, and we're going to know about it soon enough. Detail by detail by detail, and that is what I would have told the Boston Celtics. Like, listen, you trying to hide and protect this person's information while making this story the biggest thing in the world is the most asinine thing in the world. You're essentially saying, hey, everybody, look over here, but do not pay attention to what is actually happening. What? What, Celtics? Is that what you just did? Hey, everybody, look at us. But don't look exactly at us. Just look at us hiding the people over here that we don't want you to see. See, they have stuff over their head. There's a blanket over their head. You cannot see them, but they're there, see? That's what you just did. So, of course, we want to know who's under the curtain. Of course, we want to know who's under that blanket, rather. So, I just look at the Boston Celtics, say you created a crap storm. Obviously, one would think it's just a big, elaborate distraction to keep us from paying attention to the things that I said at the beginning of this video. It's very colorful. in nature. It's very intriguing. It's very exciting. It got celebrities attached to it. It's got basketball players. The NBA Finals is just attached to it. One of the greatest sports organizations ever. The Boston Celtics, 17 NBA. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. And you just wonder if Brett Favre's going to jail. That's what you wonder. Is Brett Favre going to jail? Is Robert Sarver going to be heard from ever again? You know, how much is he going to sell the team for? All these different things. Is he going to slip back in there? You know, like, these are the type of things you wonder about. Is Brittany Griner going to stay in? Are we going to fight that? Are we going to try to get it back from Russia? Prayers out to Russia. I heard there was a horrible school shooting there this morning. Horrible school shooting. So prayers out there. But it's just like, these are the type of things. There's a lot going on, man. And it's like, okay. The topic of conversation is Ime Udoka and his transgressions and him being not so good of a guy. And it looks to me that the Boston Celtics are just as sneaky as he is. Maybe not in the same way, but they're still being sneaky, man. I mean, let's just be honest. You know, when you make it a point, and this is what I always say. Human beings are human beings, man. My boy had his wife cheat on him, and this dude did it. We hired him just last year. We don't know him that well. He only been in for 5 minutes. Maybe Udoka had a assistant coaching job with the Celtics, but I don't think so. I don't know. But just saying, he ain't been in that long. He come in here, we got a good thing going. We've been keeping this thing going for 6-7 years. Got all these pieces together, all this. He comes in, he's supposed to be the cream of the crop. Gets us to the top. We get all the way to the finals. Everything's smooth. And this man sleeps with not one, but two of these people, whoever it may be in the Celtics organization, somebody's wife. And my thing is, and if I'm looking at Ime alone, just looking at him, I'm saying, friend, how did you think this was going to end? Like, that's somebody's wife. And in the other situation, like, it's been alleged it's more than one woman. It's like, bro, how did you think this was going to end? You know, one of the things that I was raised to believe is that you don't crap where you eat, man. Which is ironic because I grew up in a one kind of bedroom apartment with a bathroom and the kitchen were actually connected. Not the greatest thing in the world. But the point is, despite of that reality, I was taught the wisdom to never crap where I eat. And because of it, breaking that rule has always been something I knew better than and always felt stupid for breaking it. Because I did break it. But I always felt stupid for breaking it, and it often brought me the worst of consequences. Particularly professionally. It doesn't work. And it goes left more than it goes right, believe me. More. And so this is one of them situations where it's just like Ime Udoka, I'd imagine he's like my age. Homie's probably almost 40. Somewhere between 35 and 40. At some point in time, a man just has to look himself in the mirror and make the decision to just not do something that's going to hurt his family, hurt his career, hurt the people that love him. And look, as I'm reading more about his circumstance with his wife, I realize that maybe it was unique in nature, and maybe this wasn't as crazy based on certain things that go on with their personal situation. But even in the same situation, you still would like to see the man be more forthcoming with his truth so that this doesn't just have such a terrible blowback on his child. Okay? I don't care what you feel about Nia Long as a woman. She's a grown woman. You know what I mean? People get cheated on, bro. We talk about how you shouldn't cheat on Nia Long, but reality is you shouldn't cheat on nobody. You shouldn't cheat on nobody. Everybody can get cheated on. That's not a real thing. But what is a real thing is when you have a child, you know what I'm saying? A child who is looking up to you, who's 10, 11 years old in age. And he's going to be entering into the world of dating in a couple of years. He's going to be looking at how people treated his mommy, how his daddy treated women. And he's going to have his own point of view on how to handle women because of it. And that is when you really see the sins start to come down on you. Because what you don't end up seeing is your son succeed when doing what it is that you did. He usually fails just like you do. And this is what I've seen in generations and generations of men made bad decisions and they watch their sons make those same decisions and they watch their grandsons make those same decisions before they leave the earth. It's just like we need to understand where we start these processes or continue these processes generationally. We talk about generational curses. This is that. This is that. I'm not speaking on the Ime situation because I don't know his father, I don't know his mother, his people's. But what I'm saying is, this is what happens. You have a son watching you treat mommy like dirt. You got a son watching you keep side chicks and all that, keep this quiet son. What do you think he's gonna do when he grow up? This is how it goes, right? And then when it goes that way, what does he deal with? Consequences of that. He runs into the crazy woman that wants to throw hot grease on his back or cut pieces off of him. He runs into the woman that wants to burn his car up and take his belongings and throw them outside his door. Like, these are the things that he brings to himself with his behavior because he's seen his daddy do that stuff. It's like, daddy, you are taking your son's clothing and you're burning it on the front lawn. You are taking your son and you're putting him in the arms of a woman that's going to do something terrible to him because he messed with her heart. Like, these are the things we don't think we're doing that we're actually doing. You're delivering your kid to that woman with the wrong habits to bring about the worst of consequences. And so this is what I'm saying. It's like, yo, you gotta be responsible for the little ones that are watching you. A guy like him or Udoka, you got a bunch of young guys on your team, bro. Men that are like 20, 21, 22, 23 years old. And they're watching you sneak around and creep around with this one over here and that one over there. Yeah, that's whatever. But then they do it. Then they get caught up. And then they're like, yeah, Udoka's doing for sure. I could do this. And what they catch, though? Something burnt, something that hurts, something that takes away from their wallet. Get caught up in the elaborate scheme with the corporation that's targeting them. And they thinking with the wrong mind. They end up get caught up with situations, get them thrown in prison, get their money, $150 million tossed away from them. Come on, man. If you're going to be a leader of men, you got to understand that people are watching you and following you, and not all of them can think for themselves. That's why I'm of the mindset that Ime Udoka shouldn't be coaching the team, because he can't seem to understand how not to welcome the wrong energy, and he got people watching him intently who are looking to follow his every move. Whether it be on the basketball court or not, the point is, I don't know, from mind to mind to mind, who is going to follow this man down that path he on? Who's going to throw away their family situation because they think he's cool and doing this dumb shit? You know what I'm saying? It's wisdom that you got to be able to convey to others, not just the ability to play basketball. Because when they mess around and get caught up in them streets and situations, they got that from you. Ain't nobody gonna blame you, but they got it from you. Ain't nobody gonna blame you, but if they would have saw you do something else, they would have did that. This is reality. It's a lot of people who ain't going, my actions don't cause another. I can't cause another man. That's not real. People are followers. That's not real. And that's another thing. A lot of times people think just because they put their foot down and say others ain't following them, I can do whatever I want. Nobody's following me. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Let me tell you what I learned when I was a young person. When I was a kid, I used to wear towels around my neck because I wanted to cover up my chest because I had man boobs. Wasn't athletic, didn't have a good looking body, so in my mind, I was like, let me cover that up. Let me make sure that I go out there, I feel more confident when people can't see it. So I wore towels around my neck. Towels. Any type of color fit I was wearing, I put towels around my neck. I wasn't trying to start no trend. I wasn't trying to be cool. I didn't see somebody else do that in a rap video or something. Nah, this was something I came up with all on my own because I needed to cover up an insecurity. Do you know, within 2 weeks of me putting them towels on, I started seeing kids throwing towels around their necks. They followed my trend. Not because it was something cool that I saw someone else do, because I was trying to cover up an anxiety type of thing, because I was trying to make it so that my mind could go to school without feeling uncomfortable. And they followed me. They started doing what I was doing. Kids that didn't have this issue at all. So what I'm telling you is this. People are going to follow you whether you intend for them to follow you or not. Especially if you're intent on what you're doing unapologetically without even looking to see if anybody's following you. That's when people are following you. And so that's why I would tell Ime Udoka, man, listen. Most of the guys on that team, I'm sure, are smart enough to know that what you did was stupid. But there's going to be a couple guys around there who are going to be like, yeah, I could probably hit that too. Or I could probably get away with something like that too. Or he cheating on me alone. You know I can get away with. I would love to think that everybody's smart enough not to be like that, but that's not the world we're in. And that's why it's important that you don't keep people like that around people who are impressionable. who may be caught up in bad situations, who may get distracted and end up doing something stupid themselves, becoming a problem for the team. That's what he has to guard against. That's what he's going to have to prove he's not about. And it's unfortunate because he's one of the best coaches out there. X's and O's. There's fewer people I would rather have. I don't think there's 8 people in the coaching ranks that I would want to do this more so than him. And this is a guy who was a rookie last year. This is his first year he's coming off of top 8. But what I'm telling you is, I wouldn't hire him in the top 30 right now. Because he can't lead men. He can't be trusted. He can't be trusted to cover his own backside. That's what bothers me about this. Got a good gig, everything going well, and this is what you put yourself in. You put yourself in this, not just to mess with any old woman in the organization, but to mess with one of the top big wigs, and then somebody else too. It's like I get it, bro. You're a rich man. You got the power. These women own you. You're a good-looking dude. I get it. Maybe the situation at home doesn't allow for consistency. That's okay. But it's just about how and who. How did you go about this? Who did you choose? You're a rich man, just like I said. You can have any woman in the country, bro. You can have any woman in the country, within reason. And you're going to choose the boss's wife. I need to understand why one would sabotage such a fantastic situation. Why one would work so hard to get this far just to throw it all away to do something so ridiculous. Ridiculous. And I'm going to tell you something else. Since we're going to talk this long, might as well keep it going. This is why it's important to be spiritually inclined. Because in my mind, I got all this going on, and all of a sudden that temptation comes by. Where my head is right now, the first thing I'm going to think is that she's sent to destroy this. That's the first thing I'm going to think. She's beautiful, she vibes with me, and she's married to the boss. If this comes out, it ruins my home situation, my financial situation, my reputation, my professional situation. All of my life gets destroyed if this goes left. Why do I want that? I'm not going to see her as the beautiful woman that vibes with me. I'm going to see her exactly the way I described her, because it's exactly what happens if I go after her. I then find myself triggered in the risk of danger zone. Now I've crossed over the threshold of danger zone just by being with her. How is that desirable to me? One has to think about these type of things. How is that desirable if everything that comes with her is bad if it goes left? The only thing good about this is the fact that it can be exciting, that I don't get caught. But if I get caught, my whole world collapses, and other people get affected by this, including people that have nothing to do with the situation, just for a thrill. Just for a thrill, one has to ask themselves, if you're spiritually inclined, was that really something that was meant to make you happy? Is that beautiful shiny object there to make you happy, or is that beautiful shiny object there to make you fall on it and die? And if one isn't spiritually inclined to even question these things, you're just going to go after your urges. Oh, my dick's talking, let's go this way. No, friend. That's Satan calling. Yeah, he's calling you. He wants you. That's what that is. That woman is everything wrong about your life. She's the crossroads from which your life goes to hell. Of course she's going to be beautiful. Of course she's going to be everything you wanted. She's got to be tempting enough for you to go after her so you can ruin your life. But if you're not spiritually inclined enough to see all of that, you're just going to go what you did. And throw away everything you've worked for, everything you've ever worked for. Traumatize your kid or wherever. Mess up everything that you got going on in your life. And you still don't get the girl. First thing she do when everything go left, she falls back on her situation. Hey, I don't know what's going on. I didn't want this. As soon as I realized I was out, I'm cool. I don't know why this man's acting crazy. And she can do that. And you and I, all of us know why she can do that. You can't. You cannot. You're sitting there holding the bag. Why won't you talk to me? Because it's over, bro. You caught. Game over. That's why she won't talk to you, because it's over. You lost. Like, because I'm imagining it's something like that. You just talk to me? No, we're caught. It's over. Now it's time for the consequences. There's no talking. This is legal time now. So, yeah, just bad decision making, horrible decision making. And so, you give your enemies ammo, and that's what you get. You know, and I wonder, I like just like I said about other situations, I wonder if people are targeted. I really do. I wonder if people are targeted because I believe that some people are just candidates for certain stuff. And they look at them, okay, that person has this type of trait, this type of trait, this type of trait. If I push that button, and that button, I can get them to erupt. And that eruption can be something that I can manipulate. I believe there are entities out there doing this. I believe there are entities out there who are targeting people early too. Oh, he can jump out the gym. He's 12, right? All right, we get a 10-year plan going for him. I believe that type of stuff is happening right now. Why? Because these are big bags. They're giving away $100 million bags, $200 million bags, some of these guys. Why wouldn't someone have a 10-year plan for that? It's just like we talk about with people, running around with houses and cars around their necks, going into impoverished situations without security. Of course someone's going to make a play on you, bro. That's too much money. People spending a whole work week to get a small fraction of that in places they hate being, coming home sleeping for a couple hours just to turn around and do it over and over again, bro. And you can relieve them of that just by having something around your neck? Hell yeah, they're coming to get that. They're coming to get it. So this is no different. This is absolutely no different. Anyway, I've gotten off track, but I think my point is made, man. We just got to make good decisions. I think we have to make good decisions. We have to be spiritually inclined to understand when something looks shiny, but it's actually there to destroy you. And if you can fathom such, sometimes the opposite is real too. Sometimes the very thing you hate will be the very thing that sends you in the right direction. That one thing that you're not paying no attention to that doesn't, I'm cool. Yeah, that's the thing that'll send you in the direction to make all your dreams come true, happy, all that. But you want to choose that pretty thing there. That pretty thing, yeah, that is the end. She might as well have something on her head that says the end, because that's exactly what you're going to reach when you find her. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.